Strength is not always celebrated. Sometimes it provokes a final act of sabotage. When you rise beyond a narcissist's reach, they rarely bow out gracefully. Instead, they reach for one last dirty trick. The good news, if you see it, you've already won. When you deal with a narcissist, you are not engaged in an equal exchange of ideas or emotions. You are locked in a contest of control. At first, this control might feel invisible, small manipulations, subtle corrections, a raised eyebrow at the wrong moment. Later, it grows more direct: disapproval, guilt, gaslighting. Each tactic is designed for one thing only: to keep you reactive, uncertain, and orbiting around them. The strange thing about control is that it feels natural until you resist it. A fish does not notice water until it is pulled out of it. In the same way, many people do not recognize the invisible power a narcissist exerts until they stop playing the game. The silence after you no longer defend yourself, the calm after you no longer explain, the quiet power after you no longer justify. That silence is louder than any argument. It terrifies them. Because once you are no longer reacting, the narcissist loses the one thing that sustains them: evidence of their influence. For them, control is not about outcomes. It is about visible proof that they matter more than you do. When they press a button and you light up with emotion, their worldview is confirmed. But when they press and nothing happens, the machinery breaks. They can no longer pretend they are in command. This is why your strength unsettles them. Strength in this context does not mean aggression. It does not mean shouting louder, fighting harder, or matching insult with insult. Strength is detachment. It is composure. It is the refusal to be baited into a script they wrote long ago. For a narcissist, nothing is more destabilizing than a script that fails. Imagine a stage actor performing a scene where the other character stops delivering lines. The actor can scream, improvise, or plead, but without the dialogue, the scene collapses. The narcissist experiences the same collapse when you stop reacting. The stage is still set, the lights are still on, but the audience sees only one actor shouting into the void. At this point, the narcissist faces a choice. Do they escalate, raising their voice, inventing new provocations, creating fresh crises? Or do they retreat to regroup? Escalation is common because retreat feels like defeat. The narcissist cannot imagine giving up power gracefully. They cling to it as if it were oxygen. This is the essence of the first keynote. Power is never surrendered willingly. Narcissists do not let go of control. They lose it only when it is pried from their hands through non-participation. But that moment of loss does not happen peacefully. It happens with panic, with rage, with the desperate improvisations of someone who realizes the game is collapsing. To them, your silence is not just silence. It is the sound of their power slipping away. When a narcissist senses that direct control over you is slipping, they rarely confront you head-on. Confrontation exposes them to reality, and reality is never their strong suit. Instead, they take a cheaper path. They rewrite the story about you. They move the battlefield from your private life into the public arena of perception. The smear campaign begins. Smear is not about truth. It is about narrative. The narcissist understands that people believe stories more easily than they investigate facts. They plant seeds, half-truths, insinuations, careful distortions that sprout in the minds of your friends, your family, your colleagues. The story is always the same. You are unstable, you are cruel, you are unreliable, you are untrustworthy. They need only to sound convincing enough that others hesitate, question, or distance themselves. The genius of the smear lies in its efficiency. It costs the narcissist little but makes you spend energy defending yourself. Think about the mechanics. You are forced into a defensive posture. Someone hears a rumor. They ask you about it, you deny it, explain yourself, supply details. In doing so, you look guilty because you are giving oxygen to the very lie you want to extinguish. The narcissist doesn't need people to believe the smear fully. Doubt is enough. Suspicion is enough. Isolation is enough. They win not by proving you wrong, but by forcing you to fight shadows. The smear campaign has another purpose. It preserves their own image. Narcissists cannot bear being seen as the one who failed, the one who was rejected, the one who lost control. By tarnishing you, they create the illusion that they are justified, that they are the victim, that their behavior was merely a response to your flaws. This deflection works remarkably well because outsiders prefer neat explanations. It is easier to believe a curated story than to examine the uncomfortable possibility that someone they know is manipulative and abusive. There is also a performative joy in the smear. Narcissists thrive on attention, and gossip gives them an audience. Every time they share their version of events, they get to relive the drama. They savor the raised eyebrows, the sympathetic nods, the whispered agreements. The smear is not just a strategy, it is entertainment for them. The danger for you is emotional exhaustion. While you are busy proving your innocence, clarifying misunderstandings, or repairing strained relationships, the narcissist conserves energy, they watch as you deplete yourself, and they interpret your exhaustion as proof of their superiority. This is the trap. What makes smear so effective is its asymmetry. Building a reputation takes years. Destroying it can take 10 minutes of suggestive talk. Once doubt enters the room, it spreads faster than truth. You can't always control what others believe. You can only control your response to the smear itself. Narcissists know this imbalance, and they exploit it with precision. When you grow strong enough to resist their control, the narcissist rarely accepts the loss outright. Instead, they disguise manipulation as reconciliation. They return with apologies, sweet words, and promises of change. To the untrained ear, it sounds like remorse. To the wary heart, it feels like hope. But the truth is colder. The apology is not an olive branch, it is bait, a net, a calculated attempt to draw you back into the same cycle you escaped. Real remorse is quiet, steady, and backed by consistent action. False remorse is dramatic, rushed, and filled with urgency. The narcissist knows that timing is crucial. They appear at your most vulnerable moments, after a difficult day, during loneliness, or in the silence after conflict. They deliver lines with precision. I've thought a lot about us. I know I made mistakes. Things will be different this time. These words are not confessions but hooks. They are not meant to release you but to pull you closer. The false apology often comes dressed in grand gestures. A sudden bouquet of flowers, a handwritten note, a surprise visit. To the outside world, these look romantic. To you, they stir confusion. Your rational mind remembers the cruelty, but your emotional mind longs for resolution. This is the fracture the narcissist exploits. They count on your wish for harmony to override your memory of harm. Another hallmark of the false apology is its focus. Notice carefully, their words are not centered on your pain, but on their image. They might say, "I can't believe I acted that way, I'm better than that," shifting attention back to themselves. Or they'll say, "You have to give me another chance, you know I love you," which is less about your healing and more about their entitlement. The language is self-serving, even in its apparent humility. Sometimes the apology is not direct, but disguised as nostalgia. They reminisce about the good times, carefully editing out the bad. They remind you of shared laughter, trips, and intimate moments, as if rewriting the past will blur the present. Memory becomes another tool of persuasion, because if they can make you long for the version of them that never truly existed, they can lure you back into the illusion. The false apology also thrives on urgency. They pressure you to accept immediately, as if forgiveness has an expiration date. "I need to know now. Don't leave me hanging. We can fix this tonight." This rush is intentional. It prevents you from thinking too long, from weighing the evidence, from consulting your intuition. By accelerating the pace, they reduce the chance of you noticing the manipulation. At its core, the false apology is not designed to repair but to reset. It seeks to wipe the slate clean without the hard work of accountability. It is not about change but about access. Once you let them back in, the cycle resumes. The cruelty will return, the control will tighten, and the apology will vanish as quickly as it arrived. When direct control no longer works, the narcissist shifts to spectacle. They introduce a third person into the dynamic, not because it's necessary, but because it is effective. This tactic has a name: triangulation. The structure is simple. You, the narcissist, and a carefully chosen third party form a triangle of tension. Suddenly, your attention is split. Instead of confronting the narcissist's behavior directly, you are forced to measure yourself against someone else. The narcissist stands at the center of this stage, orchestrating reactions. Triangulation works because it preys on comparison. Humans are wired to notice how they rank against others. When the narcissist praises another person in front of you, "She understands me better than anyone," never makes a big deal out of things like you do, the message is clear. You are being measured and found lacking. The intent is not admiration of the third person, but provocation of you. Your insecurity becomes their leverage. Sometimes the third person is an ex-partner, sometimes it is a new friend, sometimes it is even a family member or colleague. The choice is strategic. If it is an ex, the goal is jealousy. If it is a friend, the goal is rivalry. If it is a family member, the goal is to make you feel excluded. In every case, the third person is not the real audience. You are. The narcissist performs for you, not with the other. Triangulation also provides the narcissist with deniability. If you confront them, they can say you're imagining things or you're overreacting. They can hide behind ambiguity, claiming that their words were innocent or their comparisons harmless. This vagueness keeps you on edge because you can sense the manipulation but cannot pin it down. Ambiguity is their shield. The theater of triangulation does not always involve direct praise of another. Sometimes it takes the form of gossip. The narcissist tells you what someone else supposedly said about you. They think you're too sensitive. He told me he doesn't like how you act. Whether these statements are true or invented is irrelevant. The purpose is to plant doubt and foster dependence. You begin to see relationships through the narcissist's filter, making them the gatekeeper of information. What makes triangulation especially insidious is its ability to isolate you without overt hostility. Instead of attacking you directly, the narcissist creates tension indirectly. You become defensive, trying harder to prove your worth, trying to regain exclusive approval. In the process, you give them exactly what they want: renewed engagement, renewed emotional investment, renewed vulnerability. The spectacle can escalate. They may openly flirt in front of you, overpraise a rival, or highlight your flaws in comparison to someone else's strengths. Each act is staged for maximum reaction. The narcissist thrives on watching you struggle to reclaim the spotlight because your struggle confirms their central role. Without the drama, they risk fading into irrelevance. When strength renders their usual tactics ineffective, the narcissist reaches for one of their most practiced disguises, the mask of the victim. They invert the roles. Where once they were the aggressor, now they present themselves as the wounded. The cruelty they inflicted is reframed as misunderstanding. Their manipulation becomes misinterpretation. Their coldness turns into sorrow. They stage a reversal in which you are cast as the villain, and they are the fragile soul deserving sympathy. The victim mask works because most people are predisposed to protect rather than confront. Human beings are wired for empathy, and few can watch another person cry, shake, or speak of their suffering without softening. Narcissists exploit this instinct with precision. Tears appear not as a release of pain, but as a strategy. Shaky voices, long sighs, dramatic pauses, all of it is choreography. The performance is designed to flip the moral equation. You become the heartless one for resisting. They become the righteous one for enduring. In this role, they retell the story of your relationship, but the script is rewritten. If you set a boundary, they describe it as abandonment. If you defend yourself, they label it cruelty. If you leave a toxic situation, they frame it as betrayal. The facts dissolve into emotional theater. The audience, friends, family, colleagues, see only the mask, not the history behind it. To them, the narcissist looks wounded, you look cold. The narrative is inverted. Sometimes the victim mask appears not in public, but in private. Alone with you, they may spiral into despair. They say things like, "You don't know how much you're hurting me," or "I can't live without you." The intention is not reconciliation, but guilt. If anger failed to control you, perhaps pity will. They understand that compassion is a stronger leash than fear because it obliges you to stay. The mask is also a shield against accountability. When confronted with their behavior, they shift into self-pity. "I've just been under so much stress. You know my past trauma. I'm not perfect, but who is?" Each phrase is carefully crafted to redirect attention away from responsibility and towards sympathy. By the end of the exchange, you are no longer asking for accountability, but offering comfort. The transgressor becomes the consoled. This costume has another advantage: it recruits allies. Few people can resist siding with the person who appears most hurt. Friends are told exaggerated stories of your harshness. Family members are shown the crocodile tears. Colleagues hear complaints of how misunderstood they are. The narcissist gathers sympathy as currency. Each sympathetic nod they collect isolates you further, leaving you not only misunderstood but also discredited. The victim mask has durability because it contains fragments of truth. Everyone has moments of genuine pain, even narcissists. They weave just enough authenticity into the performance to make it convincing. The difference lies in intent. Genuine pain seeks healing. Their performance seeks leverage. The costume does not come off because it was never meant to reveal vulnerability. It was meant to conceal power. When every subtle tactic fails, when guilt does not bind you, when flattery does not sway you, when pity does not trap you, the narcissist often erupts in rage. The mask of control cracks, and the raw, unpolished core of their personality bursts through. Rage is not random. It is a confession. It reveals what they try hardest to hide: the fear of losing you, the terror of irrelevance, the desperation of power slipping away. The eruption can come suddenly. One moment the tone is calm, almost pleading, and the next it explodes into accusations, shouting threats. You may find yourself stunned by the shift, wondering what triggered such intensity. But rage is rarely about the surface argument. It is about the narcissist realizing that the old levers no longer move you. Their voice rises because their influence has fallen. The function of rage is intimidation. If they cannot persuade you, they will try to scare you. Raised voices, slammed doors, sharp glares, all of these are tools designed to jolt your nervous system. Fear makes people comply faster than reason, and narcissists understand this instinctively. By destabilizing you emotionally, they hope to re-establish control without negotiation. Your calm becomes their enemy, your composure their humiliation, so they attack it with noise and violence. There are shades of rage. Some narcissists use volcanic fury, the kind that leaves no room for dialogue. Others use cold, simmering anger delivered in cutting remarks, prolonged silences, and icy withdrawal. Both forms share the same purpose: to punish you for resisting and to frighten you back into submission. Whether loud or quiet, the message is identical. You must pay for defying me. Rage also serves as performance. When witnesses are present, the narcissist may amplify their anger to paint you as the unreasonable one. They shout, and when you respond defensively, they lower their tone and accuse you of being hysterical. The escalation was staged for this moment. They provoke you into reaction, then step back, claiming innocence. What others see is not their fury, but your response. The confession hides in plain sight, but the audience is often too distracted to notice. The body language of rage tells its own story. The clenched fists, the forward, leaning stance, the dilated pupils. These are not signs of strength, they are giveaways of panic. A person secure in power does not need to raise their voice. A person confident in control does not need to intimidate. Rage is the slip that reveals the insecurity beneath the surface. The confession is written across their body, even when no words are spoken. In the aftermath, rage often morphs into justification. They may blame you. You push my buttons. You know how to make me mad. If you didn't act this way, I wouldn't lose control. Notice the phrasing. It absolves them while placing responsibility on you. The confession is buried beneath rationalization. Yet the truth remains. The explosion was not about your behavior, but about their collapsing grip. When all other tactics fail, the narcissist turns to destruction. If they cannot control you directly, they will attempt to make independence costly. Sabotage becomes the final weapon. It can be overt, damaging your reputation, interfering with your work, withholding money. Or it can be subtle, like planting doubts in others about your reliability, misplacing important documents, or quietly obstructing your plans. The intent is not random chaos. It is a calculated effort to make freedom feel heavier than captivity. The logic behind sabotage is simple. If leaving costs you too much, you might return. If success feels unattainable, you might shrink back. Narcissists understand that people often retreat when faced with obstacles, so they place those obstacles deliberately. It is not enough for them to lose influence. They need to prove that life without their control is harder, messier, lonelier. They want your independence to feel like punishment. Sabotage often appears first in emotional form. They may call friends or family to share concerns about you, knowing these seeds will germinate into gossip that isolates you. They may withhold affection from children to make you appear like the cause of family tension. They may spread quiet hostility in your social circles, leaving you confused at the sudden distance of people you once trusted. Emotional sabotage is cheap, effective, and invisible to outsiders. Financial sabotage is another layer.